Yeah, I'm shining. If I sit it there, somebody might hit it. Yeah. So I got some tape.
You got some?
Yes, ma'am. You did what you in the truck, I don't have. Well, you are a junkyard girl, aren't you? Right. I think you put a lot of these up. Saw your mom say. You know what? This is great. I'm glad to hear. Finally. Yeah. He's trying to do back up on what he's doing. Well, I told Doug I support him. Yeah, I can't support him.
See that sign. Get up there. Wow. Tonight will be these guys.
You just be real quiet.
Me too. I believe it's second. I want to say it's like 16.
Makes sense. It's our $5. No, you maybe called 5. That's how many people are working on it. This is Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Griffin City Commissioner meeting on April 10, 2018. Just for one housekeeping rule, we need to make sure that we do not block the exit that is out here. There is also an emergency exit if we needed to, going out the back door this way. So if the fire marshal asks you to please clear away from the door, or any law enforcement personnel, please proceed. So before we get going tonight, we're going to start off by having the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chairman Cynthia Reed Ward, and the invocation followed by Reverend Chester Miller. Please rise.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow our heads. Our Father
Father, as we come before you tonight, I pray that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart will be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, for you are our strength and you are our Redeemer. Father, you have guided us down through the years. And Lord, you have led us through danger, seen and unseen. And tonight, Lord God, we know that you would guide us here. Father, this community of Griffin, Spalding County need you. The whole world need you. Because the whole world is leaning toward evil. Father, we're growing smarter, but to do evil. To know you, we have not enough knowledge. But as we come tonight, God, we ask you to guide us. Father God, we know that the devil is busy. He comes to deceive us. He comes to divide us. But we know that your word tells us that united we shall stand. If we're united, we can stand in the face of anything. And Father God, let us know tonight that none of us are perfect. All of us have faults, and all of us have sinned and come short of your glory. But Father, forgiveness is the key for us to be able to move mountains and to move forward. And Father God, help us tonight. We pray that you would bind us together with what the world seems to have gone blind to, and that is cords of love. If we are, God, Father God, following you and loving and respecting each other like we should, then the devil would have a smaller place in our lives. But Father, as we come tonight, there are many positive things. We thank you for the young people who are here tonight, some to be honored, and others are coming because they're disappointed in leadership. They are, Father God, feel that they've been unjustly treated, Father God. But Father God, we come together tonight to let you lead us, Lord God. We thank you for all that you do for us because you bless us on an everyday basis. We come, Lord God, to let you know that even though some are disregarding you, we come knowing that you're the only one who can bring us back to a godly foundation. So we thank you tonight. We praise you tonight. We glorify you tonight. And it's in Jesus' name that we do it. Amen, amen, and amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward, and thank you, Reverend Milner. We have the agenda that's presented. I'd like a motion to consider amending the agenda to add one under presentations, delegations. Item 1 is recension of the March 27, 2018 proclamation entitled Confederate History Month. Do we have a motion from the board? I'll make that motion. We have a motion from Mr. Tinsley. Do we have a second? We have a second from Ms. Murray. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. All against, like sign. 6-0. Okay, moving into the presentations and delegations section. If you'll bear with me to kind of give you some history and some background. This week, my Sunday school lesson, I'm a youth lead Sunday school teacher at my church, and throughout this whole process, through prayer, meditation, but this lesson this week, it says the point, God's peace will help us rise above our circumstances. And the beginning of it talks about the Bible meets life, and it says, who doesn't long for peace? We love an absence of conflict in our lives, a time with no squabbling or obstacles. Even when we have those moments of peace and quiet, they are often short-lived. But God offers us a far greater and lasting peace, even while facing conflict with others or battling our circumstances. In Gideon's encounters with God, he discovered he could trust God to give the Israelites peace because of who God is. And the question that we asked the youth was, where do you go when you need some peace and quiet? And in my past, my peace and quiet has always been the Griffin City Commission. And this past 2 weeks, I can tell you it's been different. But through my conversations with the people and the emails that have come across the country to me that I've tried to respond, I've always ended with the phrase, "Peace be with you." And I thought it was strange and holy that the lesson that we talked about is the ending of the verse in Judges 6:22. "And the Lord said unto him, Peace be unto you, fear not, thou shalt not die." And Gideon, from the signs that the miracles that God had shown before him, he had peace, knowing even though the Israelites had come out of bondage and how the Israelites were feeling distant from God in terms of their relationship. Sometimes we have that same way, not only with God, but with our own community. And to kind of give you the background where I was in terms, I've never supported the proclamation this past couple of years, but I've had a struggle between the law and love. And on the love side is the what would Jesus do side of me. But on the law side, it's like the law says that you have to respect everyone's opinion. And as I've gone through this struggle and trying to figure out, which in a chess match, who's going to win, I found out that the only winner is Christ. Amen. And so I hear my public testimony. Have seen this battle of the law versus love, and I've gotten other legal counsel, and they've told me that that I can side on the side of love and not have to worry about the law hurting me or my community. And so what I would like to say to you is that I appreciate the relationships that this opportunity has built for me. There are so many different folks that I've had time for hours talking on the phone or sitting out in front of my office or on the street. I had a lady from Kentucky call me Friday morning, and she went from yelling at me to crying and praying for me on the phone. A youth minister in New York City went from questioning me to praying for me there on the phone. And I've had people just stop in the middle of the day and just put their hands on me and pray for me and pray for Griffin.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so I just want to first apologize to the citizens of Griffin for anything that I may have done to hurt any of you. At no time do I ever had any intentions of hurting folks. I'm sorry that there is that possible perception that I didn't respond harshly enough to the gentleman's derogatory comments. And so I was as shocked as what happened there and was caught off guard. I was actually at the time looking for scripture, trying to figure out how to bring us together that night. And I'm sorry that I did not respond. I'm sorry to this Board of Commissioners for any heartache in terms of my leadership to you. And I do want to personally apologize to my friend Rodney McCord. Rodney is my friend, has been my friend forever, or since he first came into office when we met in the early 90s. And it's such an honor to be with him. So I'm here humbly before you, telling you that if we as citizens of this community, of this state, of this nation, can all humble ourselves, take every effort to serve our fellow citizens, and to love anybody, no matter whether they have convictions or hate or whatever it is, no matter what someone says about you, all I can say is just show them love, show them love, show them love. And if and again, I apologize to this community if I've done anything to offend any of you personally, and I just want to tell you thank you all for being here today, and please spread the message of love and that Jesus Christ is King. So with that being said, moving into the agenda tonight. Item 1, recension of the March 27, 2018 proclamation entitled Confederate History Month. In light of the recent publicity that resulted from actions at a City Commission meeting on March 27, 2018, the City of Griffin would like its residents, businesses, and visitors to know that while the City respects every citizen's right to First Amendment freedom of speech, the City does not condone, patronize, or tolerate any citizen's use of derogatory or offensive languages. The disparaging racial comments recently made in a public meeting by a resident of Spalding County were not reflective of the values of the City of Griffin, Board of Commissioners, its staff, or the majority of its citizens. The City values the rights of citizens to participate in open meetings and express their views on matters pertinent to the operations of city government. However, one-person views and expressions are not a representative of the city as a whole. The City of Griffin is very proud of its inclusivity, its community relationship, and its recognition of equality for all of its people. We have continually used the tagline of One Griffin to amplify our entire community's relationships and camaraderie. We remain a proud community to people of all races, nationalities, backgrounds, cultures, and classes, and welcome all people to a community growing together. With this in mind, the Board of Commissioners of the City of Griffin hereby rescinds the proclamation entitled Confederate History Month issued by this board on March 27th. The Board of Commissioners further declares that the minutes of the proceedings of the Board of April 10, 2018 reflect such rescission with the intent for all citizens, businesses, and visitors to the City of Griffin display a welcome approach that is inclusive of all while recognizing that our diversity enhances our quality of life within the city and its bound and within the city and beyond. And with that said, for the love of Griffin. So that's that item. So moving into the next agenda item.
Hold on.
No, sir. There's no vote.
No vote?
Nope. Next item. Presentation of a proclamation declaring April 10, 2018 to be Spalding High School Lady Jags Day in honor of their recent win as the state basketball class 4A champions. Go Jags! And Commissioner McCord is going to be doing the proclamation, so if y'all like to come
At this time, will all of the Jags please come forward? Lady Jags, come forward. I want you to line up right here.
Don't lean on it.
Don't touch it. I told y'all I was going to get y'all a crowd down here, so this is your crowd. This is a proclamation honoring the Spalding High Jaguars Girls Basketball State Champions 2018. And I didn't bring my glasses. Whereas the Spalding High School Lady Jags 28-2 won their first ever GHSA Georgia High School Association State Basketball Championship Class Quad A title on Saturday, March 10th, 2018, with a dominant win over Henry County, who was 29-2, at the McCanish Pavilion on Georgia Tech campus in Atlanta. And whereas the Lady Jags were led by third-year Spalding High School head coach Takira McDaniel Gilbert, and assistant coaches, my friend Robbie Milner and my friend Kevin Davis, who all worked tirelessly over recent years to build this elite team and climb that ladder to make history that Saturday when they became the first public school girls basketball team from Spalding County to not only advance to the GHSA state finals, but to win. Whereas Coach Gilbert, raised in Griffin and graduated from Griffin High School, home of the Bears, continued her athletic career at Savannah State and Carson Newman Universities and developed her passion for the game of basketball. She also furthered her education with a master's degree from Troy University and has enjoyed being an educator for the past 8 years. Her fervor and positively impacting students' lives serves as well in both arenas, academia, and sports. She is married to a Griffin Hall of Famer, Spalding High School, Mario Gilbert, And they have 2 children, Mackenzie 6 and Madison 3. That's Uncle Jay's nieces. Whereas prior to the rule, the Spalding girls basketball team had never advanced beyond the state quarterfinals. And the Lady Jags finished in 2016 in the state playoffs and winning their first regional title and advancing to the Elite 8 of the state playoffs in 2017. Whereas the roster of the hard-working, dedicated, and talented female athletes includes Kiana Banks, senior guard, number 5. Kyrie Milner, senior guard, number 4. Keandra Leverett, senior forward, number 14. Kayla Milner, junior guard, number 2. Anaya Jester, junior guard, number 1. Dana Dozier, junior guard, number 20. Coriana Evans, sophomore forward, number 3. Jordan Davis, sophomore guard, number 12. Kirsten Milner, that's the 3rd Milner, freshman guard, number 10. Alicia 3, that's my cousin, freshman forward, number 33. De'Erica Dewberry, junior forward, number 24. Nia Durham, sophomore guard, number 11. Maya Collier, freshman forward, number 15. And manager Skylar Hill, Brandy Willis, and Nick Jester. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Griffin Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 10, 2018 Spalding High School Lady Jags Day in the City of Griffin, Georgia, and encourages all citizens, elected officials, employees to recognize this great achievement for the Spalding High School girls basketball team of 2018 as they completed their historic season. We do hereby declare that a copy of this proclamation be spread upon the minutes of the board's proceedings, reflecting that I have hereunto caused the seal of the City of Griffin to be affixed on this, the 10th day of April, in the year of our Lord, 2018. Chairman Douglas S. Holberg, signed by the City Manager Kenny S. Smith. Applause. But wait. This is not where the story ends. As you enter into all of Griffin, Georgia city limits, what Mayor Holberg is about to bring forward now are the signs that will be displayed to represent the Lady Jags.
Get that right. That's full of joy. All right, Lady Jags.
Let's go, Jags!
They will be having a celebration on the 28th.
Okay, just a quick update. The celebration parade will be on April 28th at 11 a.m. It will proceed down the new parade route down North Expressway, starting at the old Walmart. Would the Milner girls raise your hand?
They're not here.
They're not, oh. Okay, so your dad, Robbie, played on the Bullets basketball team, and Robbie was a superstar. And Coach Milner and Coach Mullins was always, Robbie, they always told me, because I wasn't very good, they said, get the ball to Robbie, and we won city championship after city championship because he was a superstar. But congratulations, and my son tonight is playing their last home game as a senior with the Spalding Jags soccer team. So if anybody gets bored tonight, go to Memorial Stadium and watch the Jags beat Perry tonight. Go Jags.
Congratulations. Way to go, girlie. You the man. Way to go. Y'all keep it up. You gonna do it next year too? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for what you did. Jack!
Yeah, that's Sabrina's door.
Next item is to recognize Jim Shockley, Superintendent for Stormwater Department, for 25 years of dedicated service to the City of Griffin. Director of Public Works and Utilities, Dr. Brant Keller, will address. Good evening, Dr. Keller, and welcome.
Good evening. How are y'all?
Great, sir.
We good.
Get out the hardware here. I've been here going on 27 years. Yeah. Okay.
There might be energy.
Want to hold the box?
Sure.
Anyways, Jim's been here 25 years plus now. He started in the Public Works Department. Then when we started the Stormwater Utility, he became the first and only superintendent of the program and is still here today living. If you've never watched the TV show Samson and Son, where he was a junk collector, well, you've met the #1 junk collector when we this year. We didn't have a lot of money back when we started the utility, and we had to borrow and steal. We are now retiring, I think, the last surplus military piece of equipment that we had to keep the stormwater utility going. And Jim is, he fixes and repairs daily on all the old equipment. Jim, probably over the 25 years that I recall, we've had maybe 3 callbacks on a stormwater project where we had to go back and re-engineer some things because at work you don't always get it right the first time. He's a good asset, he's a good manager, supervisor, and he's been here 25 years, and if this thing doesn't blow up, I'll hand him his little plaque. But he's a really good employee and a good friend, and I just love budget with him because I get to harass him.
Make sure y'all look over and line.
They don't want a picture of me.
Go PCA.
Thank you, Jim, for your years of service, and look forward to another 25.
Yeah.
Yes. Next item is to recognize Ariel Blanton, Environmental Technician with the Stormwater Department, as the March 2018 Strongest Link Award recipient. Dr. Brant Keller, Public Works Director, will address again. Good evening.
This is really good honor. I hear a lot of directors get up here and say this, but one of the things that we started being an ex-schools teacher and a college professor is that I believe in kids and youth and giving them a chance to succeed. Ariel came to us as an intern 8 summers ago, because this summer she actually came on in a temporary position until she finished her degree. Ariel has worked for the city for 7 summers as an intern, collecting samples out in the ditches, you name it, she's done it. Looking for snakes, bugs, taking water quality samples. You wouldn't believe it, but she does. Puts on her hip boots and does what she has to do. Well, back, I guess it was the end of last year, well, it was in the middle of last summer, we had a vacancy become open, and I talked to the human resource director and said, this young lady's been here for 7 summers. We'd like to put her in a temporary position until she finishes her degree. So I put a little pressure on her, and she has a degree in biology, a lot smarter than me. I mean, when you got to start moving things around. But at the end of the day, Ariel is the strongest link, and it's really great to see somebody in our apprentice program and our intern program for the City of Griffin actually come and work in the City of Griffin after all those years. So this is Ariel. And here comes the chain. And you have to bring it.
Ariel, thank you so much for your dedication to the city and your hard work, and we look forward to 25 years out of you as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. At this time, if we're about to do our financials, so if anybody would like to sneak out the door, this is a great time. So at this time, we are going to.
Here comes the
It's the
man.
yawn session, but we're about to go into our February 2018 financials. Chief Financial Officer Marcus Schwab will address. Good evening, Marcus.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
First item on the list is the financial statements, the cash balance report. Do you have any questions on that item?
No, sir.
How about the local option sales tax report?
Yes.
The interim statements by fund? No question?
Let's find out how we're doing on Splosh.
Okay.
Get collections about even up.
They're about there.
About there. So that's one of the best used money we'll have in Griffin, Georgia.
We're right on target where we need to be for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus, for your commitment, and look forward to budget hearings over the next month or so.
That's Mr. Smith's department. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Marcus. Okay, moving into citizen comment. At this time, the chairperson opens the floors to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to a specific agenda item not listed on the agenda for public hearing or to a concern within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business or are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The chairperson reserves the rights to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or the staff. So with that being said, we're going to try to limit each speaker to 2 to 3 minutes if all possible. Please be respectful to everyone. Please make sure there's no derogatory language, and please direct your comments toward the Board of Commissioners and not to a specific commissioner, if that's polite. So the first person, if they'd like to please come up, if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Distinguished members of the Griffin Board of Commissioners, citizens and business owners of Griffin, I'm Reverend Joseph Wheeler, newly appointed Vice President for the Injury and Clayton County Chapter of the National Action Network. We've joined with Urban Outreach Association here in Griffin, and I just wanted to read briefly a quote from Jefferson Davis. He said, "Lay aside all rancor, all bitter sectional feeling, and make your places in the ranks of those who will bring about a consummation devoutly to be wished, a reunited country." Jefferson Davis made these remarks in 1888. I think we need to study our history, and I think we need to share it so that we don't make mistakes like we made a couple of weeks ago. You made my job easier today, Mr. Chairman, and the Board of Commissioners, because I came here to serve notice that we weren't going to accept your proclamation, but you have already done the right thing. But we have some more concerns. The unemployment rate in Griffin is very high. We need to talk about jobs. Jobs for our young people, and also they need a place to go and have recreation. So if we're going to do another spots, we need 2 or 3 more recreation centers for our young people. And we need to focus on jobs and focus on bringing the crime down and focus on the needs of our communities. We're asking all churches to put together a liaison committee so that someone will come to these meetings, because sometimes when we're not here, you think we're not interested or concerned. The truth of the matter is we're trying to put bread on the table. And so it's very difficult for everybody to get here, but we're going to work in groups and come to the meeting so we can find out what's going on and report back. So I'm glad that you did the right thing tonight, but we know that was a symptom of a greater problem. And we need to work on this problem. In fact, there's a foul odor in the whole country in terms of hate. The hate groups are rising, and the decent citizens have to stand up. We have to stand up and speak out against any kind of hate. So that's why I'm here. Thank you for your time. I will be working here in Griffin with other civic groups. We'll ask for your full report to look at all of your departments to see if they're in compliance with the law of the land. You can't take public monies and discriminate. And the black population here is 56% of the population. We need to make sure that our departments look like our citizens, our population, and that's one way we can remedy some of the problems in Griffin, Georgia, and bring the crime down. So I'll be here working. Thank you, Urban Outreach, for inviting men to come here and work with you. We work with other civic groups, and believe me, I believe in the power of redemptive love, and I believe in forgiveness.
Thank you. Mr. Wheeler. Could you please give your address for the record, please, sir?
My address is 1312 Hollenbeck Lane in Riverdale, Georgia. And I do a lot of business here in Griffin. I come here, I go to church here sometimes, I eat here when I'm passing through. I think it's a wonderful city.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Reverend Jeffrey Benoit, President of the Clayton Henry chapter of the National Action Network. I want to thank the Chairman and the Board of Commissioners for this opportunity to speak and for the Urban Outreach for extending this invitation. As you might have known, Griffin had a very wide media blitz this last week throughout all of the world. In fact, you said you got a few phone calls. Why? That's because only love can drive out hate, and I think you got a real good message, a good dose of that. And again, I'm elated. I'm elated that the world cried out and said, "What is Griffin doing?" Because hate is such a strong word, and hate does not just divide; it destifies, it devastates. When hate is the order of the day. So I'd ask a question facetiously. You don't have to answer. How many of you up there hate each other? You ain't got to answer. That's just a facetious question. And the same thing when we talk to the residents here. How many of you sit next to each other that you hate and that you really don't want to sit there, but you just hate them, but you're sitting there anyway? That's an oxymoron. It's real stupid. And so I just say to you that only love can drive out hate. And we have to remember that. We have to be a doer of that as opposed to just using lip service. You know, at the start of this meeting, you pledged to a flag, and we know that the Confederacy had another flag. We can't pledge that flag and honor another flag. That's treason. And see, as an Army veteran, I came here on a treason platform, and I was really getting ready to open up the book of judicial justice. You know, so you can't take my flag and throw me another one. No, I ain't gonna do that. You know, so all things considered, I love my country because I served it for 32 years. I love my citizen because they've been serving it for 400 years. I love those who serve because it's a thankless job that takes an extra sacrifice. So I charge you, if you run for the office and you hold the seat, remember that it's not your seat, it's their seat. Yeah. It's their seat. And if you can't serve them, then you don't need to sit in the seat. Thank you very much.
Sir, your address, please, if you don't mind.
8026 Steel Mill, Georgia. Fairburn, Georgia.
And that was Steel Mill?
Steel Mist.
Steel Mist.
Thank you so much for doing the right thing, because you know tomorrow the world will hear that Griffin had a redemptive spirit, and we're going to acknowledge you on that redemptive spirit that you rescinds that, and I'm going to make sure I put that out tomorrow morning.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes. Chairman Hoberg, Mayor McCord, and other elected officials of this body and residents of Griffin. My name is Centel Brown. I reside at 1101 Crossings Place in Griffin, Georgia. One of my favorite Americans will be Georgia's native son, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am a history teacher, so I hope that you will find my comments both educational and engaging. In the Twitter universe, I am known for my historical Today in Georgia tweets and other Georgia historical events. Dr. King stated, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter." What happened 2 weeks ago from today causes me not to remain silent, but to advocate for those who are. I rise today disappointed that Mr. Johnson was not censored for his negative comment. For many years, I was a part of Boy Scouts of America, and I'm sure, Mr. Chairman, you know the motto. And if Edgar Cunningham, the first African-American to become an Eagle Scout in 1926 was here, we could all agree, Mr. Chairman, that the motto is what? Be prepared. This means you must always remain in a state where you are ready. In the words of Auntie Maxine, you must be willing to reclaim your time from foolishness and ignorance. You must be ready in mind and body to do your duty and reclaim your time. The ignorance displayed 2 weeks ago from today was offensive, insensitive, and divisive. I would like to commend the longest-serving member of this body, Commissioner McCord, for standing up and reclaiming his time and not accepting the withering injustice. In In the 1960s, Atlanta's father of aviation, William B. Hartsfield, who also served as the mayor of Atlanta, created the tagline, "The city too busy to hate." The slogan conveyed the robust growth Atlanta experienced, as well as the plan to attract new people, new development, and new attractions. I would say Griffin is a city too busy to hate. Griffin is a city that is great and growing. Griffin is a city that is growing together. This great city was founded in 1840, and we have several notable people, and the nation knows our city from, if you hit this sign, you hit this bridge, and film several shows and movies. It is the home of the late great mayor, Raymond Vale Jr., the home of the former deputy mayor of New York, Haskell Ward, the home of Alma Lavelle, and Georgia's 51st governor, James F. Boynton, Jody Breeze, Mary Stinson, the Clemens boys, Congressman Jack Flint, Jesse Tuggle, Doc Holliday, Willie Galt, Bobby Rainey, and Sherrod Martin. In 2018, we cannot be satisfied that the N-word was fully released from a person's lips. We cannot be satisfied that nothing was done at that moment to stop the spread of ignorance displayed by Mr. Johnson to the residents of Griffin. But we are satisfied now that the proclamation has been publicly denounced, and our city is no longer supporting the likings of Alexander Stevens, who was known for white supremacy and supported the unequal states between blacks and whites. Mr. Johnson and Mr. Stevens' statements are similar in that they drip with the segregationist rhetoric that intends to interpose and nullify a group. And excuse my ungrammatical profundity, but Griffin ain't got time for that. These are not the days of Moses Dallas. These are not the days of Austin Gatling, nor John Parker. These are the days that are claiming for us to be trustworthy, say it with me, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. I ask this body, as you have already done, to publicly announce in the Senate proclamation that teaches our kids to celebrate the fractured ideals of yesterday and divide us instead of doing as the motto of our school system, grow, sustaining, collaborating, and succeeding together. Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Dr. Yashonda Nicole Jones. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't want to get too close because it's kind of loud. My name is Dr. Yashonda Nicole Jones. My address is 1689 Summerwood Circle, Griffin, Georgia. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I feel like everything that we asked for was accomplished with this protest. Commissioner Holberg and myself, we've gotten to know each other over the past couple of days because I've been hanging out in front of his window every day, all day. But I just wanted to commend Commissioner Cord for speaking out when he did, and follow that with commending the city commissioners for doing the right thing, and specifically, again, Commissioner Holberg for opening up a dialogue with us and trying to better understand our concerns. When I reached out to my fellow citizens about a peaceful protest, I wanted it to be
back away from the mic.
I want it to be an opportunity for everyone affected to be able to collectively come together and raise their voice in opposition. So this was not about, an organization. It was all of us coming together in protest to this Confederate proclamation. We've all had some hard and uncomfortable discussions these past couple of days. However, with that, we have been able to build and foster relationships that would not have been possible if not for this unfortunate event. I think now that we can begin to promote healing between the community and the city, and and that it will allow us to work together in the future to provide solutions for other issues that we face in the community that have already been spoken about. And I will not take up any more of your time, because like I said, I've been camping out in front of your office every day. But I do commend...
Good times.
He's not telling the truth.
What's my dog's name?
I had a great time with Tab, his dog, okay? I got to know Tab too. But I won't take up any more of your time, but I do want to commend you for doing the right thing in rescinding this proclamation.
Yes,
thank
have
you.
A blessed day. Name and address for the record. And you don't have to get right on the mic, because he says they can just kind of behind it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Keith Stroud. My address is 364 North and 19th Street. I come today on behalf of my apartment complex and concerned citizens of Pleasant Valley and North 19th Street. For the past 2.5 weeks, our dumpster container has been overwhelmed with trash, household furniture, and a lot of outdoor waste. I've been a resident of this complex for approximately 3.5 years and have finally decided that enough is enough. Each month, each residence, which about 40 of us, are billed $18 to $20 a month for garbage pickup and removal. As of today, we have not had any help or solutions with an old owner with the problem. We've discussed this with the old owner, and we got some brand new owners on April the 1st. Upon a brief meeting on Monday with the new property management, we were told that anything outside the trash bin is the residents' responsibility to pick up and maintain the grounds. Majority of the residents work 8 to 10 hours a day and do not have time for a second job of apartment maintenance. As a resident of these apartments, I stand for myself and those that didn't want to come for fear of retaliation or whatever, but I come to ask this board for some type of intervene. Once again, this problem needs to be fixed and a solution must be reached. It seems that our new property managers only cares about making money and not about where we live. We're not only citizens of Griffin, but we are human and demand to be respected among our new property manager. We come today soliciting your help in resolving this issue. As of today, before coming here, as of 4:45 this afternoon, our dumpster was already empty and the cleanup had begun. But the fact that still remains is that some of the residents, the 40 of the residents that live there, we have been served with citations because of the violation of the dumpster, which is not ours, but it belongs to the departments. I want to thank you for your time, and I only just stopped by here just to make you all aware of what was going on for us and the city of Griffin.
Mr. Stroud.
Yes, sir.
In the blue shirt right there.
Yes, sir. We all we've already talked, and also like to make mention that it was pleasure meeting Mr. Truman.
Okay.
I'd like to say,
on it.
yes, sir. So everything is moving.
Very good.
But I just wanted to let everyone know what was going on in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day. Come on. Oh. Good evening.
Good evening to the chairman and to all the members of the board. Thank you. To all the citizens that came out tonight, business owners. My name is Kimberly Matthews. I am the Vice President of Urban Outreach Association. And my address, P.O. Box 882, Griffin, Georgia 30224. And we would like to formally say thank you for the rescission of the proclamation. To the citizens, thank you for supporting, getting out, protesting with Dr. Jones and her group. Thank you for all the other people in the community that came out to assist them out there bringing food, everything that took place. So we would just like to continue the dialogue that has been established and just ask for maybe like a civilian review board that could be put in place, pulling members of the community from like some of the local churches, business owners, even some of the youth, because we do need to engage our youth. If we can pull youth from the high schools, even from middle schools, just to get input from all perspectives, because our youth do not see color. My son is 17, a student at Spalding, and he has friends that look like everybody, So important that we, as the adults at the helm of the leadership, that we set the precedent. So we would definitely like to continue that dialogue, however that needs to be. I know you and Reggie have conversations. So if we could do that, and we would like to, have more events that bring about unity in the community. And we do have some ideas that we're going to present to you. This is not the time, but we do want to let you know that we will be bringing those ideas to you, okay?
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much again.
I'd also like to mention that we are now doing our update on our comprehensive plan. So as we start developing for the future, just keep your eye out in terms of opportunities to serve in that position in the future. Yes, sir. Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Hello.
Hi.
Mike Laster.
Hi, Mr. Laster.
1415 Vineyard Road, Griffin.
Yes, sir.
I'm here representing the John McIntosh KL Camp, Sons of Confederate Veterans. I'd like to start off by saying, as one gentleman pointed out earlier about being prepared, I'm not prepared. I'm going to forget some of the things that I thought a while ago I'd like to say. I did not write it out. I should have. That gentleman pointed out a very important thing for public speaking. But I would like to say that as a representative from John McIntosh KL Camp of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, Mr. Johnson is not a member of our camp, does not speak for our camp.
Come on now.
As far as I know, he's not a member of any Sons of Confederate camp. We study history.
Yes, sir.
Some history's good, some bad. The thing is, if we study history as it truly is, we should learn from it and everybody gain. We seek to just see what happens. Part of the history on this resolution, I'm sorry to say that you have rescinded it, but the thing is you have.
Yes, sir.
It is a state ordinance either way. This month is Confederate History and Heritage Month in the state of Georgia. Since 1874, April the 26th has been Confederate Memorial Day. It's a day that we remember the men that died. It's not a celebration. It's not something to get out and walk up and down the streets celebrating, making a big show. It's observing a Memorial Day. Men died 150 years ago, and it's simply a day that we take to just remember them. It's, they died defending what they thought they had to do at the time. Today we have people, all parts of the world. Some of the areas we're fighting is good and some's not. Our nation's not always right, but our history is our history. And that's what we seek to learn. Someone spoke a couple weeks ago about, was there going to be violence? With this Confederate Memorial Day, was there going to be violence? We have had Confederate Memorial service every day for the last several years. It's a proclamation and an observance that's gone on for the Confederate Memorial Day over 100 years. It's gone on for a long time. The oldest state holiday that we have. But we have never had a problem in Griffin. We foresee no problems coming up. We're not a group that causes problem. We study history and we seek to know the true history, whatever we can dig out. I don't like some of my history. My part of my family is from what my dad's told me. It's kind of rough, but if it's true, it's history. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time, sir. If you could just raise, in future, if y'all, we're going to start on my left, just raise your hand. I'm going to kind of work through the room, so if you don't mind. So, who was up first? Thank you. Name and address for the record.
My name is Virginia Shepard Church. My address is 2251 Jackson Road, Griffin, Georgia. I know most everybody here. I have, like I said, well, I'm a fourth generation resident of Griffin, Spalding County. My family's been here quite a minute. I have a law degree and a law license. I have worked with the city attorney, the county's general attorney, the county's zoning attorney. I've worked for all of them. I have worked as the assistant to the city manager for the city of Griffin, and I've worked as the Spalding County assistant manager. I now am an AP history teacher. So I think I'm a little uniquely situated. I would like to read a letter that I have sent to the editor of the Griffin Daily News. I also, since we have gone national, sent it to the Washington Post and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I know the Griffin Daily News is going to publish it probably Friday, but I wanted to go ahead and make y'all aware of it. These are my thoughts on recent events. Yes, ma'am. Recently, the city of Griffin went viral. Rather, a video from the March 28th City Commission meeting did, and it was not flattering. Larry Johnson, a former commissioner, used a word most of us have tried to scrub from our vocabulary, and he used it 3 times. One of the black commissioners, Rodney McCord, reacted. National news outlets have reported that Mr. McCord is the only black board member, but we know better. Mr. McCord was offended and righteously indignant, as well he should have been. We all should be, and most of us are. I have read that sentiment on Spalding County Facebook discussion pages, heard it in the coffee shops and at work, and seen it in the We Stand With Rodney movement. Mr. Johnson made a very poor choice in how he said what he said, and his poor choice has put my hometown in a bad light internationally. I resent him for this. I resent that the entire community is now painted with the broad brush of being just a bunch of racists because of this incident. However, that brush might not have covered such a wide swath if the chairman had done his job. The chairman's primary responsibility is to run commission meetings and ensure that they proceed in an orderly manner. I'm sorry to say, Mr. Holberg, you did not do your job. Instead of immediately instructing Mr. Johnson to stop using the epithet, Chairman Holberg attempted to silence Commissioner McCord. Each time Rodney tried to say something about Johnson's language, Holberg returned the floor to Johnson. By not shutting Mr. Johnson down the first time that he uttered the racial slur, Mr. Holberg, you appeared to support Mr. Johnson's ideas. By continuing to try to quiet Commissioner McCord, Holberg appeared to back Johnson's position. And by not insisting that Mr. Johnson not use such language, Mr. Holberg increased the size of the nothing but racist brush. Indeed, it appears to me that he loaded it up with more paint. As chairman, Doug Holberg was the person in the room authorized to control the situation and stop it before it started. Mr. Johnson may have put the match to the tinder, but in my point of view, Chairman Holberg was the one holding the bucket of water. Rather than douse the flame immediately, he let it burn long enough to engulf our entire community. Doug, you and I have known each other for a very long time. I know you did not intend to harm this community. I don't see this as an intent to harm. I see this as a failure of leadership. And unfortunately, although I do appreciate your apology, I do believe that y'all did the right thing rescinding the proclamation. I don't think this is a situation or an issue that's going to be fixed by a Bible study or by a Sunday school lesson.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that I need to say anything. This lovely woman just handled it.
Going back to our regular protocol, I'm going to start on my left here. So is there anybody working from the front to the back that would like to raise your hand and be recognized to come before the board? Is there anybody on my left? Okay. Is there anybody on my right? That
you got a hand on your
I'm sorry. Thank you. Please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, Hi, my name is Ellie Joliak, and most of you know me. I will probably repeat some of the things that I have already said, but I want to state the things that I have already written out for the public. Dear Board of Commissioners, in regards to the events of the last Commissioners' meetings and the proclamation, I would like to address a few facts that, when I review in black and white on paper, do not seem to add up to me. One of the Commissioners specifically has stated two reasons for her silence. That one, the look on the children's faces in the audience when the word was used was terrible, and she was stunned. And she couldn't stomach going back and watching the video. As commissioners, you are expected to think how this was going to look to other families and children. It is part of your job to be in uncomfortable situations. And when speaking to me on the phone while running for office, you made yourself sound more than capable of handling being a city commissioner. I expect that to carry over to now. Since it is said that the board was not allowed to interrupt or censor a citizen during the open floor section of the meeting, Mr. Rodney McCord was the only one to have the courage to break that rule. I expect this courage from all of you. As chairman of the board, if you are the only one that has the right to speak and you don't, that's what the world sees. No one could have anticipated what would come out of Mr. Johnson's mouth. However, you have complete control of what does and does not come out of yours. I surely hope that the next time a situation like this occurs, everyone is not stunned into silence but has enough guts to break the rule and interject as Mr. McCord did, which would certainly have had a completely different impact on this entire situation and would have allowed the world looking in to have a lot more grace. The other fact that I am concerned with is the language in the proclamation, which read that the Board of Commissioners of the City of Griffin, along with the Governor of the State of Georgia, Nathan Deal, does hereby proclaim ... Word from Governor Nathan Deal's office says they did not support this proclamation and do not understand why it reads that he supports it or that the state of Georgia supports it. Deducing from that, it seems that the language that the proclamation included was not dire to be double-checked by the legal counsel. However, the proclamation was a matter of dire need to be passed or put into place, legally speaking. If it was such a dire matter of legal counsel to pass this proclamation, why was it not dire to fact-check? We can't have it both ways. If we are strict and stringent on the rules to follow, we must follow them across the board. What this says to me is that there is lack of attention to detail. I tried to find where there was opportunity to vote on this proclamation, but found nothing. I am told that proclamations are not voted in, they're simply accepted, which is fine if it's not a proclamation of such capacity. I've also learned that this proclamation has been brought before the board in previous years and was tabled. What has changed this year? Why didn't anyone have the foresight to table it? To think that this could affect our city in such a negative manner. I'm glad that you have rescinded it, but it doesn't take away from the issue that it was proclaimed in the first place, and we didn't have enough foresight to think about the future of the city. And most importantly, its citizens and its future generation, its children. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anybody else on the left side that please come forward? Name and address for the record.
My name is Jason Chance, and I live at 510 South 6th Street in District 3. Many voices tonight are making emotional appeals to what is right or wrong in their eyes and how they feel about your decisions. I would like to instead speak about how your decisions impact my local small business. While my company is based in North Carolina, I have an office in this very building right upstairs. My customers are from all over the world, from as close as Jonesboro and as far away as Australia. Because none of my customers are in Griffin, over the past 7 years, I have injected hundreds of thousands of dollars into the local economy, paying local employees, contractors, paying for goods and services that would otherwise not have been spent here. I have not moved away to greener pastures because I love my town and the people in it. With that in mind, I hope you guys can understand for a moment the incredible frustration I had when I arrived at my office last week to find messages from friends and customers in New York, Australia, and the United Kingdom pointing me toward articles about my town in national and international news outlets talking about the backwards Confederate proclamation, the N-word being used during citizen comments without being checked, and the way the single black person who spoke up was stopped so that the racist could continue his remarks. Those in marketing and PR circles have a word that many people may not be familiar with. It's called optics. You see, the optics of any given situation is how it appears to outsiders looking in with little or no background information. The optics of what happened here and was reported in the media are clear to my customers, just as they're clear to everyone else outside this town. They're not going to see the good works of local churches and volunteer organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Council that I sit on with you, Doug, or that we're going to have a really cool food truck day this month. They care nothing about states' rights or Southern heritage because the rest of the world has moved on past 1865. They're going to see international news coverage of you people, the elected officials that represent this community, proclaiming Slavery Month, letting some old racist who he himself used to be a city commissioner drop the N-bomb repeatedly, and you doubling down and silencing the black voice so he can finish. Through your actions, through your actions, you have confirmed to the rest of the world what they already suspected about the South, that we're a bunch of backwards racist hicks. You have made Griffin look bad on a global scale. Nothing on the internet ever goes away. This does not look good to my customers from around the world who can only see what is reported in the media. Future companies looking to relocate are going to find this. Future skilled workers, something Griffin and my company desperately needs, who are looking to relocate their families, are going to see this. They are simply going to see hate that they don't want to support and look elsewhere. This is going to impact my ability to attract talent to the area and spend more money in the local economy because the designers, developers, and marketing professionals I would employ are progressive internet savvy. They're all going to Google Griffin, and those articles will be what they see. To everyone that voted for the proclamation, you have done irreparable harm to the image of this city, and that will have economic impact for years to come. To everyone that was silent while the man made his comments, you were either complicit or completely lacked the backbone required to be an elected official. You face a future electorate of young, angry voters who are unhappy with the current way things are. I have no doubt that this will be remembered on Election Day. Last week, for the first time in my 12 years of living in our city, I was ashamed to call Griffin my home. Thank you, sir.
Is there anybody else on my left that like come before the board? Anybody else on the left? We're going to move to the right now. Anybody else on the right side? Please come forward. Good evening.
How do I stand at
just
the
stand
mic?
behind it.
Just behind it?
Yes,
Here?
ma'am. And then just name and address for the
Thank you. My name is Norma Richardson. My address is 707 Woodland Drive. I know most of you. I know many people in this room. I'm a resident of Griffin. Actually, I'm a native of Griffin. I grew up here, and then I left in 1960, vowing never to come back, like many people have done. I came back in the early 2000s because it's my roots, it's my home, and I wanted to be part of making this place better. I think it's a good community. It's a wonderful community. The events of the last 2 weeks were despicable. And I do commend you for your decision to rescind the proclamation. I commend you for standing up and doing what's right. We can't change what happened 2 weeks ago. We can't change what happened in 1760, 1860, 1960. What we can change is what we do from here on. And I think it's the responsibility of everybody in this room, people they know, the people they know, to step forward and say, this is a good community. It can be a better community, but it's going to take all of us. We are a community, and if we work together and listen to each other, not just talk at each other, but listen. You know my story. I want to know your story. We're all the same. Our stories may be a little different. Our color of our skin may be a little different, but our hearts are the same. So my thing at this point is, if we dwell on the negative, if we dwell on what was, we're going to stay stuck there. So what we need to do now is move beyond that and take up the flag and make this the community that we want it to be. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nicole.
Is there anybody else on my right that'd like to come before the board? Yes, sir. Mr. Flats. Name and address for the record.
My name is Bill Flatt. I live at 102 Beechwood Court here in Griffin. I've lived here for about 8 years, and I know Doug reasonably well. He coached my son's soccer team. I don't have much more to add than what's been said, except to ask a question of everyone in this room. I read the proclamation for the first time once it was delivered to the paper. I had no idea it was coming. I'm not involved in the city like I'd like to be in the future. But I have a question for you. Was it truly considered a point of pride to describe the plight of an enslaved human being, Moses Dallas, receiving an increase in pay, and he was able to buy his family's freedom from being enslaved? I ask as a point of judgment from everyone at this board, did you look at that and decide as an adult that that was a point of pride to put in that paper? In my view, your jobs, your privilege of being on this stage is to foster an environment conducive to employers, to maintain safe streets, safe water, reliable utilities, and other public services that we elect you to do for us. You work at the pleasure of the voter. As a council member and resident of Griffin, you must ask yourself what you stand for. I'm asking you today what you stand for. And I would expect to see an answer from everyone in some format or another. Do what's right for Griffin. It's not your right to serve on this board. It's a privilege. It's my right to vote. I had said hopefully the city is watching, but it's obvious they are. And I thank you for this time to speak and to be heard.
Thank you, Mr. Flatt. Is there anybody else on the right side? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Bishop.
All right, Bishop. Sir, name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Bishop Douglas Van Miller II. My address is 1130 Wright Street, Griffin, Georgia. I'm a history teacher here in Griffin, and I've been in Griffin for the last 5 years. I'm an implant to Griffin. I tell people that all the time. I'm an implant because my wife is from Griffin, and she's told me that if she moved anywhere after we left college, it was going to be to Griffin. And since then, I've been proud to say that I am from Griffin. I live in Griffin. Only 2 occasions that I had to step back and say I was proud. The first one, as I said, I'm a bishop of a church. Me and my joint pastor, Suzanne Wages, who is a white lady. Some people don't understand that. But we tried to put showers in our church for the homeless, and we was turned down because of the image that would portray. I was disappointed for that. And secondly, what happened on a couple of weeks ago. Now, my question is, I'm not going to stand here and, judge anything or talk about all the stuff that happened weeks ago. But I would like to hear what's the plans for the future. Can I hear a proclamation about what we're going to do for us to come together and live together in unity? Because as I said, I am a historian, and I do know a great educator by the name of Apostle Paul. And Paul tells us that there's no Greek nor Jew. There's no slave nor free. Or male or female. If I can interpret it in this today's society, there's no race, there's no nationality, there's no sexuality, but we're all one people in Jesus Christ. So please let us know how we're going to move forward together.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Roy Heron, 413 Terrace Street. I'd just like to get up here to say that what happened the last meeting was just really an embarrassment to the city. Both sides was just totally out of order at times. The things that were said was just heartbreaking to see what this council has done over the years. That's one thing I try to do is come to these meetings. And with that being said, turning around, seeing all these people here tonight, TV mic, I'd love to see this every meeting, these people getting involved with our city. This is what it's about. We are basically y'all's boss. And every meeting I come to, I look and see 3 or 4 citizens here. There's more staff members of the city here than there are citizens. If the citizens are not getting involved with the city, y'all do what y'all want to do. We don't have no stopping of it. But we get involved, and I challenge everybody here tonight, every meeting that they have, come here, voice your opinion about things. The city does a great job. I've watched them go from one Griffin to growing together, and then we have a hiccup. Well, maybe this hiccup is a new beginning for us to get involved with our city, be involved to make Griffin great again. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Did you say something else?
Yes, Reverend Jeffrey Benoit from National Action Network again. As you've heard all the comments from your constituents here, who is taxpayers, they are totally vested. There's a city right next to you. Come on now. Noonan, Georgia. Noonan, Georgia. And I'm quite sure you've already heard their attempt or what they plan to do. As you see what has happened just in the way of a proclamation, but you're also familiar with Charlottesville. I would charge this board, each and every one of them, whatever your contacts, your influence, affluence is in Noonan, to call them and let them know that what they're getting ready to do, it's not going to be pretty. I think right now you have the influence and affluence to make those phone calls and try to head this thing off before somebody gets killed, and then we're going to have to sit there and deal with somebody telling me it's my right. It's not your right to kill nobody. It's not your right. So I charge you that in the wake of trying to change faces and put things back together, maybe we can reach out to another county, which is your sister county, and simply say, no, you're in the wrong way. Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else on my right side that would like to come before the board? Yes, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Stanley
Atkins II, and I live at 200 Pepper Tree, Griffin, Georgia. I'm a United States Navy veteran and a retired firefighter paramedic. I have proudly served my country and my community, proudly. But I cannot proudly say that I've served my own city. For this proclamation to even have gone that far, that shows a progression and the regression of our own psychology. That proclamation for some was a sense of pride, well, for me and for many others, it was a psychological noose attempted to be placed around the necks of African American citizens. I am offended. For each of you sitting on this council, you're now staring at me and I have your undivided attention. For us to say that this was racist, that this was wrong, you're absolutely right. And so with that being said, if Griffin, Georgia was prepared to pass a proclamation condoning racism, then I think that you owe the citizens of this room and the people that this has affected, the least you could do is to give us a proclamation for something how we can rectify this situation. Now everybody's going to come forth and they're going to say, well, we want to see you do this, we want to see you do that, these are our objectives and our requirements. But nobody has a comprehensive plan. Well, I stand here today presenting to you a comprehensive plan on at least a start. Griffin, Georgia is seen upon as an armpit on society. Not to everyone, but to many. As an African American male, I can tell you that from Griffin, Georgia, if you are African American or a minority, there are very few expectations of you as an adult. You're expected to be a truck driver, a factory worker, an athlete, or a convicted felon. That's it. As you stare at me right now, maybe you can't recall a person from Griffin that's famous for something other than those. Because I'll wait and I'll be in the back at the end of this meeting. And so my reason for coming down here today is I've stood before several city councils, the city of Atlanta. I was recently at the city of South Fulton's decriminalization hearing, the city ordinance hearing. And I want you to know that Griffin has a problem that's much bigger than just racism. The lack of skilled workers that he spoke of, the off-putting to companies, citizens, and potential long-term economic investors for this city. We can rectify this damage done, but not without a comprehensive plan. And together we can come up with that plan. So I stand here today and tell you that I am going to be reaching out to each and every one of you of your district, and I want to propose a cannabis decriminalization order for the city of Griffin, Georgia. I have done my research. It is scientifically and statistically proven that the war on drugs was created as a war against black and brown people. The city of Atlanta recently did a survey and a statistical study in which during a certain time period, 92% of all arrests in the city of Atlanta for marijuana possession were African American, when it's proven that African Americans and all other races use it at the same rate. So why the disproportion in arrest rates? Anybody? Griffin, Georgia. I got wind that at some point there was a judge that was also found to be in partner with a probation office. Why hasn't there been a class action lawsuit to visit every single case that he subsided over that sentenced someone to probation? Because it's not just a war on people. We need to understand that cannabis is a possession charge in the state of Georgia. But with that, I'm telling you, Griffin, Georgia has a problem with alcoholism, crack cocaine addiction, and crystal methamphetamines. It is proven that places where cannabis has been decriminalized and legalized, opioid addiction has gone down, violent crime has gone down. Police man-hours have been reallocated to real crimes. I personally had a run-in with a Griffin officer last year. It could have gone one of two ways, but I handled myself professionally, and we spoke, and we were able to resolve the situation, and that's what prompted me to be here partially today. I am going to present to you guys a comprehensive plan on how we can have a panel. We need to have a public working committee to discuss these, and we need to get input from the community. But I want to stand here today to say that I want Griffin, Georgia to follow the cities such as Clarkston, the city of Atlanta, and the city of South Fulton in being forward progressive in decriminalization of cannabis, because it's not just a criminal issue, it's a social justice issue.
I was expelled from Griffin High School for possession of marijuana. I was deemed a bad student and sent to Risa Academy with real criminals. While there, I received Student of the Year because I was stoned. I was never stupid. Okay? I was discharged from the United States military for drug abuse. True. After serving 2 deployments. I came home 30 days after returning home from the Gulf. I was arrested for possession for 3 grams, and I asked that officer, you mean to tell me I can go serve my country twice, but I can't come back and medicate naturally? You're going to arrest me to this? And he said yes. That could have deterred me, but it didn't. I successfully went on to become a decorated firefighter paramedic. Now, it's proven that arrest can alter your life forever. Think of it. There's somebody's kid home right now on spring break, or is about to come home for the summer. Is coming home to Griffin, Georgia, hoping to get a job at a temp service in one of these hot factories making minimum wage. They're going to be hanging out after a cookout. Well, this one doesn't want to do prescription drugs. They don't want to drink alcohol. Let's just say they decided to smoke a joint today. Whoop, whoop. They get pulled over coming in the flat. Everybody out the car, let's line them up. Now, that student that gets arrested, let's just say he had $10 worth of product on him. It's going to, when he goes back to school, you have just lost financial aid. You just lost your scholarship. Well, now it's time to clean up your dorms and go back home to the city and community in which you left. Why? Because they praise Confederate flags. So you send them back to the city. There's a lack of skilled workers, and now there's going to be a lack of companies and investors to come here. So what are you sending that person back to? When they could have received a civil fine, $75, and just that, in lieu of jail time, it would have allocated that officer's hours to go chase that rape suspect, to go get that convicted criminal, to get that sex offender, or to get the ones that are peddling meth throughout your cities. Also, with those funds that are taken from those fines, we can take that and reallocate that into damage control from this nasty subject that we're discussing tonight. Public services, we can have public town hall meetings, create a sense of community. We can take some of the revenue from those funds and put it into the areas of the city that are most needed.
Sir, if you can please, we have 5 minutes right now.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you for those 5 minutes, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on my right that'd like to come before the Board of Commission? On my right. Is there anybody else on the right? Okay. Thank you everybody for being here. Turn it off. Take about a 3-minute break. If you need to leave, we're going to go to the regular meeting in just a minute. So if you'd like to leave, feel free to do so. If you'd like to stay, we'll finish up with the business. and gentlemen, if you're going to leave the meeting, please leave the meeting. Otherwise, please have a seat. We need to finish conducting business.
Hey there.
I'm going to get it done. Commissioners, please come back and take seats. Please take the conversation outdoors so we can move on with the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I think our mic issue was the other wireless mics that were up there with it interfering, so hopefully that's over.
Get somebody to stand in front of it, make sure it's okay.
Well, I don't think we'll have any more. May not have any more comments. Okay, moving in. We do not have any public hearings tonight. We're moving into the consent agenda.
Rodney's not back.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
He must have done it.
He stepped to the restroom. You ready? Okay. Moving into the consent agenda, I need to take out I need to talk to, I'm going to pull out item 7, so if we can take items 5 and 6 together. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda for items 5 and 6?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Ward, a second from Mr. Brock. All in favor, signaling by raising your hand. 6-0 with Ward. Motion. Brock, second.
Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, since we've amended the agenda and the number
I'm sorry.
Just say which items rather than refer to them by number.
Okay. So this would be considering the minutes of March 27, 18 meeting, and that was for consider the purchase of 2 vehicles from Speedway Ford with the 2 items that we just voted on.
Okay.
Next item is consider on second reading request to amend the code of ordinance of the city of Griffin. I had a call from someone that would like to get together in regards to talk to us about this, but talking to Ms. O'Connor, there may be some confusion, so we discussed this today. So Ms. O'Connor, if you could they wanted to have an opportunity to talk about some issues, but I think to be clear, we have already voted.
Yes, sir. There's
4 vehicles per bay door.
There's 2 different ordinances that we brought to you all 2 weeks ago. One of them is from the Unified Development Code, and when you change an ordinance or amend the ordinance in the Unified Development Code, you take that to your Planning and Zoning Board, and so that is your first reading. There's a notice that appears in the paper before you have that first reading at Planning and Zoning, and there's a hearing after that at the commission meeting. So with that Unified Development Code change, you only have 1 reading at this board. So last time we were here, I was trying to make sure everybody understood the Unified Development Code was only in front of you last time. So you've already approved that, and there is not a second reading for that. The Unified Development Code revision is what limited 4 cars per bay. So that is not before you anymore. The ordinance that is before you now is in our Code of Ordinances. That also requires 2 hearings, but since it doesn't go to Planning and Zoning, the 2 hearings are had here. So this is your second reading for that, or 2 readings, I'm sorry, 1 hearing, but 2 readings. So your second reading is what's before you today. That is our junked vehicle ordinance. Our junked vehicle ordinance currently prohibits junked vehicles throughout the city, except we have some exemptions in that ordinance. And one of those exemptions currently is auto repair shops, junkyards, and those kind of businesses. Our recommendation from staff was to break out those 2 different types of businesses because junkyards and auto repair shops are not similar businesses except that they deal with cars. And we were going to leave the exemption in there for junkyards but not leave the exemption in there for auto repair shops. So right now, that is the only thing before you. We have not heard, staff has not heard from anyone in regards to either of those changes. I think you all have been told that they would be contacting us, but we haven't heard from them except for when we had our car chat over almost 2 years ago. So I'm not sure at this point what their suggestions are and if we want to continue with the junked vehicle or still leave it separate or tabled, but at this point we don't have a way to table the Unified Development Code ordinance because it's already been approved and is not in front of you now.
So with that explanation, what's the pleasure of the board in terms of the item 7?
The junked vehicle that we're talking about now prohibits those vehicles in front of auto repair shops that are wrecked, torn up, inoperable.
They use them for parts or whatever, and basically it's their own little parts store. So,
I make a motion to approve the ordinance as read.
Ms. Ward made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Tinsley with a second. And with discussion, I think I understand it clearly. I think they were looking at how to discuss. Phone call I got was about the four cars per bay, but this is clearly different from that issue, and it's more for the junk vehicle. So I think it's a good thing for us to go ahead, and then we could always amend something in the future if we need to. Any other comments or statements?
Well, the gentleman that I think his name is Mr. Cobb, he's not here, but he was here, and I think I had some questions, and we rode by his place of business, and so you're saying that the vehicles that he clearly had on his lot were nice, new, shiny, they just didn't have tags on them. This doesn't apply to such as that?
No, and I think where everybody gets confused is the junked vehicle, the way that the definition reads, it does say if it does not have a current tag or insurance, then it is considered to be, there's probable cause to believe that it is junked, but if they walked out there and cranked the car and were able to drive it away, then it is no longer considered junked. The junked vehicle is something that cannot operate in the condition that it's in. It's when you look at it and you see there's no tires on it, it's on blocks, it's missing the engine, missing the transmission, so majorly disassembled because it's missing a major part, not something you could walk out there and put air in your tire and drive off in. Or that you need to repair the brakes and go. This is something that's a majorly disassembled vehicle, and that definition is clear in here, and we don't have any problems, I don't think, with that.
Are there any other questions? I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of consider on the second reading on the junk vehicle ordinance, please raise your hand. All against, like sign. 6-1 with Mr. Brock against. Or I'm sorry, 5-1. Get my math right.
Thank you.
Okay, regular agenda, consider approval of a bid to work contract to TW Brown Construction Contracting LLC for the replacement of the Springer Drive culvert in the amount of $285,812 from 2016 SPLOST funds for the Public Works Department.
Make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Mr. McCord with a motion. We have a second. Ms. Ward, is there any questions or discussion?
I have discussion, if you don't mind, sir.
Yes, sir.
We've been looking at this project for I don't know how many years, a long time. Is this going to fix it?
This is Springer.
Are we going to be able to say $285,812.33?
Yeah, the bottom of the culvert's rotting out and cracked, and we're replacing it, and we're also replacing downstream hard armoring, the loss of property going downstream.
So we are paying some of the residents money. We are paying residents money.
No, we're not paying any residents.
Hair or what?
It's in the it's all in the stream buffer. There's no right of way acquisition in this property or construction.
How much money have we spent in the last 10 years on that project? Any?
On Springer?
Springer, yes.
Yeah, a little bit. I'd have to go back and take a look.
Yeah.
So
I'm just asking, is this amount of money, is it engineered to a point that we're going to fix it to a point that we're not going to come back, this commission's not going to be back in a year or 2 years, want to spend another $100,000, $200,000?
Not at this location.
Fixing the same project?
Not at this location. I mean, we've got this problem all over town, but this is going to replace the culvert that's existing there. We've not addressed this culvert. We've had to deal with some armoring of erosion along the channel back there, but as far as the culvert is concerned, this is the first time it's been on the docket to be fixed. We assessed it like 4 or 5 years ago.
Any other questions, Mr. Brock?
No, sir.
All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Dr. Keller, for your work. Item to consider a first reading of the ordinance. Make sure I got this right. Consider a resolution to modify the loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund as administered by the Georgia Environment Finance Authority dated October 6, 17, in the original amount of $16 million for the Cabin Creek Water Wastewater Treatment Plant upgrade, changing the project construction schedule. Estimated completion date is July 1, 19 to April 1, 2020, and authorize the chairperson and secretary to execute the delivered modified loan documents. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Murray with a second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0.
Mr. Chairman, if you will be around tomorrow, Brad needs to send those back to the chief pretty quickly.
Yes, sir.
Can you get them signed?
Item 10 is consider a first reading of ordinance amending Chapter 78 Street Sidewalks and Public Places of the Code of Griffin, Georgia at Article 3, Parades, Assemblies, and Demonstrations by repealing the current article and enacting in lieu, therefore, a new Article 3, so that it can comprehensively revise procedures and regulations pertaining to parades, assemblies, and demonstrations that obstruct or interfere with the normal and intended use of the public streets. This is the new parade route, is my understanding, Ms. O'Connor?
Yes, sir.
That's included, yes.
Yes, sir. Do we have a motion to approve the new parade route?
I make a motion. Second.
Ms. Ward, second by Ms. Murray. Any questions or comments? All in favor, signal by raising their hand. 6-0. And thank you, staff and chief, for all y'all's commitment and work on that issue. Item 11 is consider approval of a contract to purchase 12 parcels located on Edgewood Avenue and D.F. Fuller Drive for the fine price of $120,000. Those historic homes. Do we have a motion, Mr. McCord?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion, and I also like to make a comment. This is probably one of the greatest achievements of our board.
Can I get a second?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. McCord with a motion. Ms. Ward, go ahead, Mr. McCord.
Probably one of the greatest achievements of our board to see a portion of our community take on a new shape, a new identity, and that's removing these shotgun houses that have been up for, as long, probably before I was here. So to see that go down and to see the city step up to make this purchase means a lot, not only to District 6, but to the city of Griffin as a whole. So thank you to the board. Thank you for the hard work, Mr. Holberg, of helping to put this together.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All in favor of the acquisition, please raise your hand. 6-0. Celebration.
Awesome.
Item 12, consider a resolution, and thank you, Mr. Smith, for your hard work on that project.
Oh, yeah, you did. I'm sorry.
Consider a resolution revising fees for certain services rendered through the Planning and Development Service, Public Works and Utilities Department, Customer Service Department, and Solid Waste Department.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. McCord with a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Ward with a second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. All against, like sign. 6-0. And finally, item 13, consider denial of a purported anti-litem notice from attorney Tim Kramer in letter dated March 13, 2018 on behalf of his clients, Linda Sparrow, arising out of a collision with a City Griffin truck on November 10, 2017 on South Hill Street. What is the motion?
I make a motion.
Ms. Murray with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tinsley. All in favor, signal by raising their hand. All against, like sign. 5-1 with Mr. McCord objecting. Okay. We got through that tonight. Mr. City Manager, do you have any comments tonight, sir?
Georgia Trend Magazine, if you looked at your magazine this month, there was a nice article in there about pickleball and about the new industrial park. So we're real proud of that publicity. The retirement reception for Spalding County Fire Chief Kenny West will be on the 18th from 4 to 6, and that's at the Fire Administration Building, which is the old senior center behind the health department. So you'll want to go by and wish Chief West well on his retirement. Thursday night is the district GMA meeting at Barnstormers in Williamson. Since it's close, I hope we have good representation, and if anybody would like to ride with me, we will leave here at 5:30. and be glad to escort you to Williamson. Mr. Holberg is on the slate of officers for first vice president for our district for next year. So an honor for Mr. Holberg, and we appreciate his service. Just a couple of things that have been mentioned tonight that I want to point out. We are working on a youth council. That's been one of the staff's goals for the last 2 years, and Mrs. O'Connor is working on a youth council specific to the city, separate from a youth development program that the Archway Group is working on. So we got 2 youth council programs working simultaneously here. We will be celebrating Georgia Cities Week later in the month, which is an opportunity for all of our citizens to celebrate, and we will be presenting a proclamation to this board to recognize the City of Griffin and Georgia Cities Week and ways that we can all work together to better our community. And our comp plan meeting that we'd like to invite people to participate in our comprehensive plan revision. That next meeting is on April the 26th at noon, and I think lunch is served during that meeting. So we invite everybody to participate as we prepare for the future. And that completes my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your commitment and hard work. Mr. Welles?
I have nothing further.
Mr. McCord?
Just want to once again reiterate all of the good that we heard today about our community, that we want to work together. We are a positive community. I appreciate Mr. Holberg and his apology and his rescinding of the proclamation. I think we need to once again capitalize on using a moment like this to make our community better, to have those uncomfortable conversations that will drive us into our future so that we can be the best Griffin that we can be. I want to thank all the board members for reaching out and to express your concern about making our community what it should be. Thanks to the staff, and again, thanks to the citizens of Griffin for coming out. Special thanks to Ms. Kim and UOA for stepping up, putting this on their mantle, putting it on their backs to make sure that the word got out and that we are a city that will not tolerate hate. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Murray?
Well, thank you everyone for coming, and City of Griffin staff. And I'm not quite finished with all of my training as a newly elected official, but I can't think of a better way to really train. Is it not on?
No, it's all. I said you just got some training.
Oh, I can't think of, thank you for the comments. I definitely had, for those of you that don't know, a lot of those comments were directed just towards me, and I knew who they were, and thank you, because that's how I serve you all better. That's, I tried my best out on the campaign trail to reach out, and there were probably some 2,000 homes, and it was really hard to catch the working age people at home. So I end up seeing mostly seniors. And so you really don't get an idea of what's expected of you, and it's hard for me to, I am no longer an ambassador of the city coming to you. I am on the different side now as a retiree of the city, but it's an entirely different view. So when I am there to be a voice, and I am there to bring you all, your voice here, but of course there are tons of different voices. There are tons, even in my district, there are tons of different views, tons of generations. So it's still hard for me to bring this big picture and for the greater good make decisions, tough decisions that we make here, as you can all see. So what better way to train me? I feel like I've just jumped straight in, like not even the diving board, but the high dive. So I am learning, and I really enjoy. I don't think we have the ministers here. I think they left, but I really appreciate I took a lot from the message that they brought, that we are human, and there is that level of forgiveness, and I feel like, but then one lady said, is it a biblical study? But I really think that it's the people, it's the message that you all bring. This is your government. This is the most I've seen, the biggest crowd that I've seen in a commission meeting, and I I love seeing all the beautiful smiling faces. You all, it was a good, very colorful room, and I see young, and I mean, I think that's great. And so I have a lot of pride in this community because I travel with sports teams. I have 2 kids, and one thing even before coming on this board that I was proud of is that when you travel to surrounding sister communities, a lot of those sports teams look the same. I can tell you when we play soccer, it's a championship league in Stockbridge area. Those mostly are brown children and not black children. I'm just saying we on my kids' teams at one given time, I can tell you there are 6 different languages spoken on my son's team, and he lives right here, and they all live right here. I think we are a better, from what I see we are more diverse than some of those surrounding areas, and I think we have a lot to be proud of for that. In my children's school, I know that there are 4 different languages spoken in my daughter's homeroom, and I think that's incredible. And on the campaign trail, just me out visiting and knocking on doors, I do speak Spanish, and I understand a lot. I'm sorry, I know you all are stuck here. I'm just real passionate on this that, lots of those languages spoken to me when people knock on the door were not even languages I understood. And I don't know where these people came from, so I ask. And we had Russia, we had Pakistan in our district. That is a beautiful thing. These are all different age groups, and so we are well diverse in this community, more so than more people really know, because we're on the move, we're on the go. We are busy, and from one particular gentleman who's not here, said we are really too busy for the hate, and I agree with that. I don't always agree with everything this board does, and the decisions we make are not all my personal views. And in the pie chart, since I'm a public official, my opinion is now 1/3 of this pie chart, and I know that. So it's hard for me to make a decision, and I'm learning, and I'm being molded, and thank you, because your constructive criticism towards me just helps me be a better official. And I don't take it personal, but I do take it to heart. And thank you, each and every one of you, and I will continue to serve and reach out to me, and thank you again for just your attendance tonight and your for this community. And I urge you to please come back, because we cannot govern this community alone. It's not about us. And for the gentleman that said, shame on, or I think that was his words, but we can do what we want to if you all aren't here. And that's true, because we are your voice, but we need you. So thank you. And I wish the whole room was still here and I would have addressed them, but thank you. Spread the word.
Okay. Mr. Brock?
No comment, sir.
Mr. Tinsley? First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I love my community. I love Griffin. I would encourage you to be active in your community. There's a lot of opportunities here. And as we go forward as Griffin one. Thank you. Ms. Ward?
I kind of want to piggyback on what the city manager said. Almost everything that the 2 gentlemen from Clayton County said about what it is that Griffin needs, we're already doing, and staff is doing, and I hate that our citizens don't know it. It's not our fault that the citizens don't know it, because we put it out there. I pray that what has gone on here in the last 2 weeks will not cripple us or set us back, hurt us, the city, economically. A lot of what has gone on was beyond this board's control. And I could get up here and say somebody did this and somebody did that, or who was responsible. But as a board, when something goes forward, regardless of what our vote or decision was, or how once it happens, the whole board takes it on. So we're all kind of responsible for what happened. I'm sorry. I'm glad that we tried to make amends for what happened. But I wish that our citizens would become involved and be here and actually see what's going on in the city. They talked about the unemployment rate. We have a new industrial park that's almost full with good paying jobs. That graduation rate in the city of Griffin is up over 80%, and that's something that was not that way when I came in office. The things they talk about, trying to get things for youth, the comprehensive plan, we're doing all of that. We're begging people to come and be a part of it. So, you know, for me, that undermined, when they said that, that undermined our staff, and that's not fair. So, and the citizens that were here, I'm sorry they left, but I hope that they will become active and become registered voters, because you can determine who represents you. And if they're not satisfied with what has gone on, what has transpired, it's up to them. But if you're not registered, you don't vote, it doesn't matter what you say. It's going to be the same thing. So, with that being said, and I guess I'll be quiet.
To this team, I appreciate each of y'all, and this community and staff, I appreciate you. I've got an open door policy. I've built some new relationships, and hopefully they'll become long-term friendships as we work together. I think not only myself, but every one of these elected officials and the city staff have an open door policy. They're willing to sit down and talk. They may seem a little chaotic at times, but I promise you they care about every district they represent and every citizen that is in the city limits, as well as our customers outside the limits. So as we work together for the greater good of Griffin and Spalding County, I just want to wish you the best, and peace be with you until we meet again. Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Ward, second. And go Jags.
Yeah.